Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the death of Marilyn Monroe. As you can see, I'm wearing a shirt. Okay, it's the anniversary today. But this idea has been promoted that she was murdered is absolutely ridiculous, and I want to talk a little bit about that here. I have like 3 pieces of evidence that absolutely prove without a doubt that she had died by either suicide or an accident, but not murder. The idea is just totally ridiculous, and we'll get started right about now. Here's the 3 basic pieces of evidence, but before we get into that, I'm going to tell you a little bit, ramp up speed about what this is all about. It's been alleged, it's been promoted that she was murdered by the Kennedys to keep her quiet about, she was supposedly going to schedule a press conference, spill the beans about, their affair and the Bay Pigs and things like this, but that's absolutely ridiculous, and here's why. First, there just wasn't enough time. In order to have someone killed and make it look like a suicide or an accident, it takes like weeks or up to a month of planning, but it's been alleged that she was ordered killed the day before, and Bobby Kennedy and Peter Lawford and one other person went in there and did the whole thing, set it up to look like a suicide, and and doing things like putting the telephone in her hand and having her lay on the bed and all this, and they did it all in 20 minutes, and that's just ridiculous. It just doesn't want enough. There just wasn't enough time, and so this isn't the James Bond, this isn't the Bourne Identity, this is not Mission Impossible, this is real life. Things like this just don't happen in real life. That is absolutely ridiculous. These people that believe that she was murdered, they live in a fantasy world, and like James Bond, Mission Impossible, Bourne Identity, they don't think realistically and logically. And my points here are based in logic and reason and in facts. So let's get on with this. No Bourne Identity and the whole, and also the door to her bedroom was locked from the inside of the bedroom, not from the outside, but from the inside. So if you were locking, how could you possibly leave a room, close the door, and lock it on the inside if you were staying on the outside? It just doesn't make sense, because the police, when they arrived at the scene, they had to break a window to get inside. So, just doesn't make sense. Okay. Number 2, and it was been alleged that she was going to, hold a press conference to tell about the affair with the Kennedys and so on and so forth. But if you're an actress or a celebrity or an actor or any type of Hollywood celebrity, you have people who work for you. You have publicists, agents, press agents, and so on that do things for you, like schedule press conferences, make hotel reservations, schedule public appearances, and things like this. So in all 56 years since Marilyn Monroe died, not once, not ever, did any of her publicists, managers, agents, or press agents or anything ever came forward and said, yes, Marilyn Monroe had scheduled a press conference on such and such day. That never happened. Not once, not ever. And not once, not ever did any news agency ever state publicly that Marilyn Monroe had scheduled a press conference with our offices. Yeah, no LA Times, no New York Times, no ABC, NBC, CBS, no CNN, no Fox News. Okay, I'm being facetious about the CNN, Fox News. I know they didn't exist yet. Just a little humor. Okay, so number 3. It's been alleged that she had swallowed, when she died, there were 50 Nembutal pills found in her system, and that she was forcibly, forced to swallow these pills or what have you, and they allege that it was impossible for her to do that. That's bullshit, and I'll tell you why. When I was living in New York, like about 15 years ago, I had to work with a friend of mine, and this coworker, this guy I work with, had hurt his back, and he was prescribed some Vicodins. Now I stood there, and I watched while he swallowed 10 Vicodins right in front of me. So yes, it's possible to swallow 50 Nembutal pills in one sitting. Okay, if I watched a guy swallow Vicodins, then she could have swallowed 50 Nembutal pills, especially since she was highly addicted to Nembutal, to any kind of all pain medication, and she used to swallow them with with champagne and so on. So it is very possible she could have done this. Okay, and if your body's used to, consuming pills, your body gets used to, you can swallow them with no problem. It's very easy to ingest them. Okay, so furthermore, so if any of you want to, put any theories about that, do what I did. Just at least base it in fact and in logic. But none of them seem to do that. They just make up these stories that and all this this murder conspiracy is based on a lie, and I'll tell you why. In the early 70s, and about 1974, a book was written by a guy named Robert Slatzer. I believe I'm not pronouncing his name correctly, but he had alleged that she was murdered by the Kennedys, and not only that, he also stated that he was married to her at one point, and that's been disproven so many times. So if he lied about that, what else did he lie about? So this whole entire idea that Marilyn Monroe was murdered by the Kennedys is based on a lie, and this is proven. And everything I'm telling you, part of it has been basically on this right here. This book, it's been written by Thomas Noguchi. He was the coroner who did the autopsy for Marilyn Monroe. He also did the autopsies for Sharon Tate, Bobby Kennedy, Natalie Wood, and so on. And I'm going to read this part 2, this little piece of evidence here. And this is in this book on page 82, right there. I highlighted in blue. It says, the LA District Attorney's Office released the report of its investigation into the death of Marilyn Monroe in December of 1982, and its conclusion drew wide circulation. Her murder would have required a massive in-place conspiracy covering all the principles of the death scene on August 4th and 5th, 1962. The actual killer or killers, the medical examiner coroner, the autopsy surgeon to whom the case was fortuitously assigned, and almost all of the police officers assigned to the case, as well as their superiors in the LAPD, our inquiries and document examination uncovered no credible evidence supporting a murder theory. Now, this is from the LA District Attorney's Office. So there you go, right there. It proves it. I mean, but all these people that sit on the couch and they watch TMZ and they read National Enquirer, but they think they know more than the medical examiners and the coroners who spent years going to college and had many years of on-the-job training. Yeah, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Neither do the detectives. They don't know anything. So they should fire all those people and hire all the people that watch TMZ and read the National Enquirer and put them in those jobs, because they obviously know what the hell they're talking about, right? Of course. Okay, so enough of that sarcasm. But so anyways, so if any one of you wants to, make up a story about a theory about how she was murdered, how Marilyn Monroe was murdered, you can say anything like, I don't know, that she was murdered by, I don't know, say Tupac, or that James Dean was killed by Biggie. If you're going to say something that ridiculous, at least back it up with facts, please. Can you please just do that, like I did? And this is just a tiny bit of facts. I can go on, but I would have to sit here and talk for like an entire hour. So, but that's just just scratches the surface about how she was not murdered, but she was killed by either a suicide or a accidental overdose. The idea that she was murdered is ridiculous, so just forget about that. Okay, so anyways, so that's it. So if anybody wants to, I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate over this video, but bring it on. I mean, I got facts to back up my allegations. Do you have facts to back up your like fantasy or whatever you think about? Okay, so anyways, like my video, and I'll see you on the flip side.